At Option Genius, we believe that you deserve freedom, financial freedom, so that you have no more worries and more than enough money. Time freedom, so that you could do what you want, when you want to do it. And choice freedom, to live your life on your terms. But the system and Wall Street are rigged against those little guys. So how do we fight back? Well, my friend, that's what this podcast is all about. My name is Alan Sama, and this is the Option Genius Podcast. All right, fellow passive traders, I have a real treat for you today. Back on, well, I don't know when it was, but it was episode 96 of this podcast. I was talking about how to get started trading for a living. And that came about because I got an email from one of our students saying that he had just been laid off and he needed some help and some sounding board about what he should do. Should he go back to work? Should he start trading full time? And he gave a little bit of the background, and I read his email on that episode, and then I had written him an answer, but then I went into a little bit more detail in that episode. But right now, I'm happy to say that I have Todd with me on the line here, and he is going to be giving us an update of what he decided to do, the situation, what happened, and how he did it. So Todd, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Hi, Alan. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. It can be a little bit vulnerable, embarrassing a little bit, when somebody gets laid off. It's, not always under our control, especially when you're working. So I appreciate you taking the time to help us out here.
Right. No problem.
Cool. So can you go back a little bit and tell us, so what exactly was the situation when you had sent that first email in?
Yeah, so the situation was I ended up losing my job. It was due to budgets that were constrained because of the coronavirus and the response to that. And so some of the projects that I was working on, the funding got pushed out another year. And so they couldn't compensate me anymore. So they laid me off. And at that point, I had already signed up for 2 of your blank check program. I was kind of starting to do the homework, but I really didn't have a lot of time to do it when I was working full time and balancing family. And then when I got laid off, it was more imminent. And so I thought, well, this might be an option that I'll have, more time to dive into it. And so that's what I did. And I sent you an email and said, hey, Alan, is it really feasible that I could, do this full time and at least cover my hard costs, my expenses? And that was my initial goal. I wanted to, cover my mortgage, the bills, monthly expenses. Mm-hmm. And, your advice at that time was, yes, it is possible. It may take you a few months to get up to speed. So, and I think at that time you said, maybe you should look at getting a part-time job, something like that. And I ended up not doing that. I just kind of dove into it. And I think in the 3rd month of trading, I was able to meet my goal. So
that's amazing.
Right. So I met my initial goal of just covering my expenses. And then the next couple of months, I increased my goal. And I think I was running about an average of 10% rate of return on my trades. So month to month, it was real positive, and I kept scaling up. So it's continued to be a positive experience. As you know, last month was a little bit volatile, a little bit of a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. I ended up getting out of that month. I think I was at 8% of my rate of return. So
that's still really amazing.
8%
in a month is a good month. Yeah.
Right. So it was good for that. Now, what's changed recently is now that I've learned this and I've gotten a little more in tune to the oil market, I'm actually out again looking for a job. And what my plan is continue trading at this level and then find a job. So I think I have more time during the days that I can do that. And so hopefully I could go back, make my original salary, and I can still, profit from the trading.
Oh, that's really
So,
interesting. Wow,
I
that's like
mean,
a yeah, I didn't see that coming.
right, right. So,
So okay, so you are in our oil options program, and
correct.
you're also in another. You said you were in another program. Which one? The passive
The
trading
passive
program?
trading,
Okay.
right.
So when you started trading full time, right after the layoff, what did you focus on? What did you trade?
Well, I went through about half the courses of the passive trading program and got you know, learned what options are, how they work. But I ended up migrating towards the blank check program with oil.
Okay.
With my job, I'm more in tune with the energy markets. It's more interesting to me.
Okay.
I can understand that supply and demand
Mm-hmm.
a little bit better, and so that just appealed to me. So
Okay.
I really dove into that, and that's what I'm doing 100% right now. In the future, in the next couple months, I plan to go backwards more into the strategies that you teach in the passive trading and probably use covered calls you know on some other trades
Mm-hmm.
just to supplement. Yeah.
Right, right. Okay. Yeah, because in
So
the passive program we do, covered calls, naked puts, covered credit spreads and whatnot. And
right,
just to make a living, it's a little bit harder with covered calls and naked puts. We do have students doing it with credit spreads, but like you said, when you need to go from zero to whatever it is, cover the expenses, the oil one, it has more, I guess, bang for your buck right away.
right, right,
Credit spreads do too, but the covered calls, naked puts, I mean, those are maybe 1 to 3% probably or profitability in a month. How much you can make
right.
the return. Oil, we go for 10. Credit spreads, we go for 10. So those are more the strategies that if you're going full time, then yeah, I like what you said because once you have that coming in, that extra cash coming in, then you're like, okay, now what do I do with it? Okay, now let's put it into building up that foundation that we talk about in the passive program, where you're putting in stocks and you're just cash flowing that foundation. So cool. I like the thinking of it. So if you don't mind, what was that goal, the original goal? You said it was okay to cover the expenses. How much was that?
Yeah, the original goal was $5,000.
Okay, and how long it took you? 3 months to get there?
Yeah, I think my third month I hit that.
Okay,
So the months before that, I was at about 2,500, 3,000.
okay.
By the third month, I hit that. Uh,
And how long have you been doing that? Like how long has it been since you started full time?
since March,
March. Okay, so
since
March,
March.
April, May,
So
June, July, August, September. It's almost 9 months. No, 7 months.
right, this would be the seventh month.
Okay, awesome, awesome.
Yeah,
Okay, so we got 7 months, and what was your best month?
best month was actually last month at about $8,000.
Okay, awesome, cool. So
Yeah.
now, originally, when in your email you had said your wife was a little bit concerned. What does she feel now?
Well, she is, and it's more because she's just a little more conservative, or I would say that her risk tolerance is a little bit less than mine, right?
Hmm.
So, in her opinion, and rightfully so, we have a family, we have kids in the college, so she's just uncomfortable with the fact that it's not sustainable every month necessarily.
It's just not that checks just doesn't come in every month, right? Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
it could
It's not,
vary. Yeah.
it can vary. And so that's really what she's uncomfortable with. So, I think if I get another job on the side and I do both, then
Hmm.
I'll be more than sustainable and I'll be bringing in, more money than I was previously making. So
And
it,
that'll get her you or get her to be a little bit more relaxed.
exactly, exactly. So,
Yep,
and
that's
it'll be a win-win for everyone. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons I started Option Genius was to get me off of her back. Like, she was like, "Hey, can you go leave me alone? Can you go do something else?" You know.
Right.
And she didn't. I get where your wife is coming from because my wife was coming from the same place. She's like, you're doing the trades, you're looking at it every day. I don't know what you know. To me,
Yeah.
it's just up and down, up and down, up and down, and so I don't feel secure. And for
Right.
my wife, it was about security. It's like, I need to know that I'm going to be able to pay the bills or go to the grocery store and then my card's not going to get declined, you know? So
Absolutely.
she's like, "Yes, if you can get me something on the side, then I'm okay with you trading, but that on the side has to come in." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Okay, I think we can work on that."
right. Yeah, that's a lot where we were, so or where
Cool.
we are now. So yeah,
Okay.
we're working through it.
So the business that you were in, it was construction, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
construction management.
So
Yeah.
is that picked up again now?
Yeah, it sort of has. I mean, it took a dip with the COVID. A lot of funding was frozen in the, the immediate industry that I was in, and
Right.
things are picking up.
Okay.
So, yep,
Okay. Cool. So, all right. So let's recap. The industry that you're in had a bit of a constriction. They didn't have any more work for you. So
right.
you decided, hey, I'm gonna try my hand at trading. Did you give yourself like a deadline? Like I'm gonna try it for 3 months or 6 months, or I have like 50,000 I could lose, or did you have some kind of, line in the
Right.
sand?
Yeah, I think it was really like 3 to 5 months
Okay.
is what I was figuring. I mean, I was under a little bit of pressure and motivation, I guess, right? I really wanted to make it work. So I kind of went all in and was having, good success. And so I kept going. So it was really, you get thrown to the wolves, right? You gotta make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
that's really what I did. And that's how I learned by, putting skin in the game, putting money in it. And that's where I really paid attention and was my motivation to learn it. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
So what would you say your return average has been on a monthly basis? Like
Oh,
your
I think I hit 10% every month except this last month.
Wow. So every month for like 6 months you did 10 and then this last month you
Yep.
did 8.
8.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. That's amazing. Yeah. So then you started doing that and obviously you had the program, you had the coaching calls and you
Right.
had all the stuff that comes with it, but you had to actually do it. You had to get in and be like, okay, I'm making the decisions. I'm going to put this. I'm going to scale it. And you decided when to scale. So
Exactly.
kudos to you for that. And then now, so okay, so your goal was like 5. You've surpassed the goal. You're making
Yep.
more than you were making as a working. So how long does it take you to do your trading right now?
Oh, I spend about 2 hours a day, not
Okay.
just on trading, but on, looking at news, educating myself, looking at different websites. I probably spend 2 hours a day on
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're doing 2 hours a day. We're making a really nice income, but now you're going to go back because you're diversifying, right?
Correct.
Instead of
Right.
having one income source, now you're adding a second income source, which is going to take more time.
Right.
But going back to work, it does, keep you mentally sharp, gives you social interaction. There's several benefits of working with a lot of other people, and so that's going to give you. So, do you think you'll still be able to do the 2 hours a day of trading?
Oh, I think so. I think I can still, check in on it first thing in the morning. I've got the app on my phone where I can keep tabs. And, I think if I need to jump in, I certainly could do that for a few minutes during the day and then, check in again in the evening. So I
Mm-hmm.
think if I just keep tabs on it all day long, I can control what my positions are doing.
Okay. Yeah, because some people might listening to this might be like, "What? This guy's crazy. He's doing so great. Why is he gonna, why doesn't he just continue to scale? Why is he gonna go back to the workforce? If he can take some of that money that he's throwing off every month that he doesn't need, you could put that in some other passive investment, maybe some rental properties or investing in some other companies or whatnot. What would you say to that?
Well, I think right now, like I just said, I have, my kids are young adults. So I've got 3 kids in college right now. And so the expenses are pretty high.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's going to benefit us if I can go back to work, get a regular paycheck, and do this on the side. I'm almost twice as good as I was 7 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
And how long do you plan on working?
you know, I I don't know. I think probably at least get the kids out of college and then reassess,
Right.
what we're doing. But I think one of the benefits of trading is, you can continue to do this. Eventually I'll retire. And once the kids get out out of college. I could retire. I could do this, and I could do this. I'm sure, as long as my mind is good and into my 70s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the long-term plan is keep trading, and I'll continue doing it as long as I'm able.
Awesome. Are you going to
So,
continue to scale it, or are you going to take that money and put it somewhere else?
well, I'll continue to scale it as far as I can on the oil, and then I think you reach a limit where you have to do something else.
Oh, I mean, you already said that, right? You're putting it into the other
Yeah,
stocks and the other
yeah.
programs too. So that
So I'll
makes
put it
sense.
in other stocks, and also with I can't trade retirement accounts in oil, so
Right.
I could trade that with some of the other strategies,
Okay. Now
right?
let me ask you on a personal level, because a lot of people they say they want to trade for a living. They say they want to go full time,
Right?
but when it comes down to it, they just can't make the change. They either take too much risk
Yeah.
or they trade too much, they overtrade, they undertrade, they don't follow the rules. How did you stay emotionally grounded with that much pressure? Because it does go for, it has a lot of pressure where it's like, hey, I need to not only just not lose money, but I have to make a certain amount.
Right.
Otherwise, maybe the lights get cut off or I don't make the car payment. How did you handle that emotional pressure?
Right. Right. You're right. There's some pressure there. I think that I'm pretty easygoing person. I can handle some of that stress and some of that risk. But on the other hand, I think you have to have a little bit of capital to absorb some of the downturns.
Hmm.
And I'm in a position where I have that. It's not that I want to lose it, but if it came to it, I could lose a little bit and absorb that for a month or two.
Right.
So I think that's how I went through it. But it does get a little bit stressful when you have some money on the line and the market turns against you. You can't make knee-jerk reactions. You have to kind of settle down and maybe turn it off for a little bit and reassess. So just by doing that is the way I was successful to keep a level head and not get my emotions into it. So
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. Yep. So I mean, it's a really interesting story because you never hear that where it's like, hey, I learned a skill, I'm doing great at it, but then I'm gonna do it part time and go back to, this my job. I've seen people do it, but it's something that nobody talks about because it's like, I hate my job. I can't wait to get out of here. I'm gonna go F you to my boss, and they actually have a term. It's called FU money. It's like when you make so much money that you don't have to care what anybody else does or says to you. You can be like, oh, I'm rich, I don't care. But it
Well,
seems like
I'm not there yet.
you're not there yet.
That's the problem.
But it seems like you enjoy your job. Like you enjoy what you do.
Yeah, my original career.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
enjoyed it. I mean, it was nice. It's very nice getting involved in trading and making money this way. But yeah, so I don't mind going back and getting back into my old career.
okay, cool. All
So
right. So if we were talking to Todd 8 months ago,
yeah.
what advice would you give him?
Oh, I really don't think I would do anything different. No, I would do something different. I would be more clear with my wife about what I was doing. I think that was my biggest challenge. It was our largest challenge. And, my wife didn't want to take the time to understand what this was all about. And, eventually I was able to explain it to her. And so she kind of came around, but, she's just risk adverse. We don't have the same opinion. And I probably didn't communicate enough with her and early enough. So yes, my advice would be communicate more with my wife and do it earlier and more often and clearer. You could do that. So
Cool, sweet.
that was my biggest challenge, really.
Okay. So if there was somebody that came to you and asked you for your advice, like, hey, Todd, you've had great success. You've been doing this for a while now. How do I do this? How do I get started? What would you tell them?
Yeah. Well, coincidentally, I was talking to a couple people that would be my brothers, and they, we got talking, and what I did is I said, hey, look up Alan's website. I gave him your website, and I said, you guys should do this. It's it's a way to get another income. So I now have two brothers that have signed up for your programs. So that's my initial advice. Anyone who's interested.
And do
Yeah.
you think that in terms of time, do you think 3 months was enough? Could you have done it sooner? Would it have taken longer? How did that feel?
No, I think 3 months was enough time. I think, speaking of another challenge was once you start making trades with your own money, because I did paper trading for, I think, a month.
Hmm.
Once you start making trades with your own money, you have to ease into it because there's really a mental capacity that you have to get used to and get over with. So, for example, start with a start with a couple $1,000s trading. I think you probably need an account worth $10,000, but don't bet at all. Don't trade at all. Leave a cushion. I think one of your rules is leave 50 to a minimum 30% out there to absorb fluctuations in the market. So I've done that, but just like you said, don't overtrade. Don't do too much where you're uncomfortable with it. And it takes a couple months to kind of get used to that mentally.
Hmm.
And
If you don't mind, how much did you start with in your account?
so I started with $40,000
Okay.
and I scaled that up to 100,000
Okay.
eventually.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
So you were okay with that risk, the 40,000? I mean,
Well,
obviously you didn't use all of it at one time, but
no, exactly. I've never used it all. And, what I'm comfortable with, I guess, is that you're not risking all of that. You can control your risks a little bit more and, make adjustments so you don't take on that enormous of a risk. So,
and for those of us who are, well, not us, but others who are trying to do this, how did you handle the scaling? Like you started with 40 and then how did you know that, okay, now I'm going to add more, I'm going to add more?
yeah. So once I got more comfortable with it, after about 3 months, I wanted to make more trades and my margin, I was pushing the limits of my margin. So I needed to add to my account. So that's the point that I added to my account. And then I kind of kept scaling up, but I kept enough margin reserve, you know, to
Hmm.
be comfortable. So, so I really scaled it up over, a 3 month period, I guess.
And when you started talking to your brothers, and I'm sure other people probably asked you, hey, Todd, you're not working. What are you doing all day long? And you told them, oh, I'm an option seller. How did they respond originally in the beginning?
Yeah. Most people I had to kind of educate what it was and what it was about.
Yeah.
And I think that my two brothers, when I started talking about it, they actually knew people who were trading options, but they didn't know a whole lot more about it. And, so I was able to educate them a little bit about what it's about. And I told them about my success that I was having. And then that got them more interested. So, but yeah, for the majority of people, I typically have to tell them what it's about and, the difference between what stocks are and what options are. Options are a derivative of stocks, they're not the same. So really had to just educate them. And some people got it and some people, weren't really interested in knowing more.
Nope. Their eyes
Yeah.
glaze over, and it's like, oh, no, that's too complicated. I don't care. I don't want to learn about it.
Right.
And
Right.
but everybody's different. So it's interesting. Very few people have heard about it, so I mean that's why we're trying to do the podcast. And thank you for coming on to spread the word. I think it's really important to hear from real people that are actually doing this, real money, everything's on the line. We're not just doing back testing here or just coming up with strategies or theories. You're actually doing it every day, month in, month out, and you've had a lot of success with it. So kudos to you. Congratulations. I hope that your wife eventually does come around.
Right. Right.
Yeah, like mine, I mean, with mine, I guess, eventually I got her own business. Like she wanted to start her own business. And so I'm
Right.
like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, she's off my back now. So she's happy. She's running her thing, she's making money there. So she doesn't even ask me anymore.
Right.
But because in the beginning it was like she would come home from work and if I had she'd look at my face and she'd be like, "Oh, the market's up." Or the market's down today, right? You look sad. And I'm like, yeah, the market's down today.
Yeah.
I'm sad. And then the next day she'd come home and I'd be sad. And she's like, oh, what happened? I checked the market. The market's up. You should be happy. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm sad because the market's up today. It's like every day, no matter what, I would still be sad in the beginning while I was learning. So it was really a roller coaster for both of us. But I'm really happy that it didn't take you that long. For me, it took a little bit longer to actually understand everything and
Yeah.
get through it and get to that point where, yeah, okay, I'm making enough, to pay all the bills. That was a hard thing for me.
Right. Well, and speak to my wife. She's a accomplished professional person herself. She's very successful, and it's our 26th wedding anniversary here this week. So
Wow, congratulations.
yep. But very proud of her, and we just gotta get over this hump and move on.
No, but you're doing great. I mean, look,
Yep.
the future is looking good. You added a skill, now you have something under your belt. You're like you said it, I could do this into my 70s. We have people
Exactly.
doing it into their 80s. So, and with all the technology and the health advancements that are coming down the pike, who knows, maybe 100, 120 that we'll still be trading, we never know.
Right. So
Um,
it's a long-term plan. Yeah.
Yep. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love it.
So
I love it. So any final parting advice you'd give to our listeners?
now just keep plugging away and keep track of your markets and your positions and don't overtrade. So probably the best advice. Yeah.
Awesome. Were there anything before you came to us? Were there any other stuff that you had tried that didn't work?
No, I didn't. To tell you the truth, I was traveling a lot for my job, and
Mhm.
I came across your podcast first, and so I was listening to your podcast while I was on the road. That got me more interested. I was trying to look for something that could supplement my income,
Mm-hmm.
and so I got interested, and then I eventually signed up for one of your programs. So no, I didn't try any other programs before I found yours, and
Okay.
I kind of checked it out, and it looked like it was viable, and so that's how I got going.
Awesome. Sounds
Yeah.
good. Great to hear. Great to hear. I really appreciate you coming on, and I wish you all the best of success. And you're in our program, so if anybody wants to reach out to Todd, he'll be in our group. And thank you again for being here.
Okay, thanks, Alan. All right, take care.
Are you ready to get started with passive trading and be a consistent and confident and profitable trader, generating cash flow consistently from the stock market? Well, I have some great news for you. For a limited time, we are offering my new book, Passive Trading, for free. All you got to do is go to passivetrading.com/free book, and we will send you the book in the mail for free as long as you cover the postage and handling. So if you can cover that, we'll send you the book for free. We've already printed it. We got it for you. We're going to send it out to you. It's free. All you got to do is just go to passivetrading.com/free book and learn the basics of passive trading. Get the behind the scenes, get some examples, learn the strategies, and put this stuff to work in your life right now. Remember, go to passivetrading.com/free book and get yours now while this offer is still available.